All right, so if we were going to run this from beginning to end in a particular order, this would be the very first drill we would do, what we're getting ready to do here. It's the Scba knowledge station, and basically we're wanting to see how well you know your packs, how well you function in them, how well you're able to solve problems. Unfortunately, with a big group, we have to rotate you through, but this is going to seem probably basic to you. It's probably not a whole lot different than what you've done over your careers, recruit school and all that, but it's a good refresher. If you think about what you've done so far today, everything involves your Scba. So we want to make sure that you're really good at solving problems because we're dealing with our Scbas all the time, and you got to be able to fix problems and save yourself as part of your survival skills. So before we get into actual drill itself, I just want to talk about Scbas and some of the things that I've found over the years. And then we're going to do what we call the morning check. So if I can just borrow this pack right here, whoever it belongs to. Good? Okay. So it's amazing to me how bad people treat their packs and how they just don't really care what condition they're in. And I come from a big city, so I work in a lot of companies, work overtime and stuff. And so I find a lot of issues as I go around. And every time I find something, I think, how did this guy let this happen? And how did it go through several shifts? And every time I think I've seen it all, a week later, I see something else where I just go, I can't believe that people do this stuff to these packs. So to me, the radio and the Scba are the two most important things that we have that we need for survival. So before we get into the meat of what we're going to do what I call the morning check. And it's the way I've checked my Scba for 30 years now. It's probably what you guys do too. If you don't, then I hope you do after this class is over, because I'm very picky about my Scba, and I want to make sure that it's perfect before I wear it that day. So the first thing I would tell you is I always take mine out of the backpack of the seat harness, pull it out, set it down on the bay floor, because the apparatus cabs are dark. There's stuff on here that you would miss if you don't get it out under those fluorescent lights and everything. But more importantly, there's stuff on the back of these that you're going to want to look at to make sure that everything's good. So I always just start at the back. I pull it out, lay it down, kind of spread it out on the floor. First thing I'm going to do is look and see how much air I have. How much air do you guys want? I want a full tank. What about you guys? Full? I mean, really, I'm a big guy. I use a lot of air, so really I need every bit of air I can get. I go through a half-hour bottle in about 12 minutes, So make sure that it's full. If your department has a rule, what do you guys, like 10% I heard or something? You got to change them out at 10%. But seriously, if I got on there and I see that my bottle's at 5% less than full, and I see that there's one in the compartment that's all the way full, I'm probably going to switch them out and let the spare bottle be the one that's 5% down, So I want every breath of air that I can get. But look at what's on the gauge, and then remember it in your head, because you're going to want to compare it to the shoulder gauge. You want them to be pretty much in line with each other, because if they're not, something's wrong with one of those gauges. Which one is it? I don't know. But I don't want it to be this showing full, but it's actually a quarter or something. These things get tossed around. I've seen them where the needle in there gets bent. Guys drop them, and it can stick right where it was when it was dropped. So if it was dropped when it was 3/4 and you think you got a tank that's a 3/4 when really it's been bled down to a quarter, that could be a real issue for you. So make sure that you've got all the air that you need. So compare the two, make sure they're right in line with each other. Another pretty important thing on this is this right here. What is that? Universal air connection, right? Some people call it the RIC connection, call it what you want, but know what it's for. We know it's to transfill this bottle. But the big thing that you need to know about your morning check is that boot falls off all the time when we're wearing these. You start working hard on fire, you're crawling around, you'll knock that boot off, I guarantee it. So then what happens? Well, then you're overhauling, you're backing up into wet drywall and all that, and you're packing this thing full of junk. And I've literally found them before where they're full of hardened drywall, and nobody fixed that. I went in one night and there was about a 1/4 inch of drywall where it expanded. After it dried, it expanded, was sticking out of there, and the boot was missing. Nobody found it. I found it, and if I'd have not found that and I was the one that needed air that night and this was the only way they could give it to me, that would have been a real problem. So what I always say is pull that boot off, look in it, blow into it like that, and then put the boot back on. Is anybody wearing a Scott? Nobody? Okay, there were some in the other group that wore a Scott. Scott used to have this same setup here, just this one-legged boot, and it gets knocked off all the time. So they decided to fix it and they put 2 really thick boots on it, or legs on it, I should say, and now it's almost impossible to get it off. So they fixed one problem and caused us another one. So that's something to think about. I mean, literally, with a bare hand, it's hard to get that off the Scott pack. So, you know, you got to think about that, you might have to just cut the thing off if you got a wet gloved hand in a fire trying to get that off there. So make sure everything on the back's good. Make sure that your tank strap is tight. This one's good. You've probably all worn one before where the tank jiggles around in there. You can see where that would be a problem. The low profile that you went through, if that tank is shifting on you, it's going to catch on the studs. Anything, wires, anything, if you're crawling forward, would want to get stuck down in there. So just make sure it's adjusted nice and tight, and that's a good one. On the front, you want to make sure there's no twists in your straps. There's a twist in that strap right there. So in the morning, if I found that, I would fix that. I would just flip this. It's pretty simple. Unthread it through the buckle, thread it back so you got a nice straight strap going down there. It's pretty simple. That's not a huge problem. You probably won't even feel that under your armpit. But if I get another twisted, let's say I get it on me now and I've twisted a little harder and I pull that twist and the twist stops in the buckle, that could be a problem if I got to come out of this quick, or if you guys got to try to get me out of it quick. Anything lodged in that buckle could be a problem. So, you know, thread it through and start fresh in the morning. Just pull it through like that and flip it over. Now thread it through and back down. Now we've got a nice strap with no twists in it. So that's how I'd want to start. Once again, it's not a huge issue, but it can become an issue. The waist strap, make sure there's no twists in it. And you think, well, if there's a twist, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Well, this is going to be backwards. Let's say if I did that, I could even do that on my own, accidentally put that backwards. Could that be an issue? Having the button on the wrong side? Definitely. If I come up to get you out of your pack and I'm going, you know, I got a glove on, it's hot, it's dark, I may spend 2 minutes trying to figure out why I can't work that. So make sure that there's no twist there, but make sure that the buckle actually works. These things get slammed indoors, they get run over, but you know how I said that every time I find something, I think I've seen it all, and then I find something else. So I always do this, you know, and I do it enough where I can just do it without even looking. So I got this, I went to work overtime in a company one night, and I got the pack sitting on the floor, and I'm doing this, and about the 3rd time I still don't have it buckled. I'm kind of looking at the engine, you know, going, okay, what do they got here and there? I go, why can't I buckle this? I look down, and I had 2 male ends in my hands. Now, how can that happen? How can that possibly happen? And I know how that one happened. I asked around, they had turned in a bad strap. It was all frayed. Their mask guy came out and changed the strap, and he didn't pay attention, and he put the wrong side in it. No one caught it. 3 shifts worth of guys wearing that pack, and no one caught that. So it tells me they weren't checking it, and if they were wearing it, they're one of those guys that just leaves the buckles hanging and never even checked it. So had I not caught that, and we're going down the street and I'm going on a fire, I would have had to tie a 1/2 hitch, you know, in my strap. That would cause a real problem too, wouldn't it, if I need to get out of my pack? So once again, just when I think I've seen it all, I see something like that. So make sure they buckle, make sure they got the right ones in there. Going down the shoulder straps again, we got our pass device, right? In the morning, I tell my guys, I've got 10 guys on my crew. I want to hear 20 pass devices. What do I mean by that? I want them to fire their packs up, breathe off of them, bleed them down, and then let them sit still for 30 seconds. And I want the pass to actually activate completely. Then I want them to shut it off, and then I want them to hit the emergency button and make sure that that side of the pass works. Because really, this could be the most important one of the 2 functions, because you know, if I have to hit a mayday on myself, I don't want to sit still for 30 seconds. If I can still move, I want to keep moving, but I do want them listening for my pass device. So I want to be able to reach down and just hit that. Know what your low battery alert sounds like. Does everybody know what it sounds like on these? The intermittent chirps that they usually, you know, most of them have. All right, I went in the day before we left here. I worked overtime in a company, the first half of the shift. So I go in there and I did this check, and I turned the pack on to breathe off of, and I didn't hear that telltale sound that I'm so used to hearing. So I looked down, there were no lights on, and I hit the emergency button and nothing happened. Batteries were stone cold dead, and that doesn't just happen overnight. You know, they build up for a while, they're going down. The low air alerts, or the low battery alert's been going off probably for months on this thing, and no one changed them out, and the batteries went all the way dead. So I didn't use that pack. I grabbed the chauffeur's pack because he wasn't going to be going in anyway, and I wore another one. I wasn't going to go in without a pack that has a working pass device. That's begging for trouble. So make sure that it works, and when you hear that low battery alert, get them changed, you guys, because how long are those batteries going to last? Who knows? You know, might last a minute, might last an hour, but I want them to last the whole time I'm in trouble. All right, so let's look at some of the things that these manufacturers put on there that get us in trouble. This is a huge one right here. You guys haven't been through the wire boxes yet, but when you do, someone will probably get stuck on a wire on that. That's a big deal, you guys. They put these on there for what? What do most of you guys hang on here? Face piece? And that's what they put it on there for. That's usually what you see. But that's for what? When I'm standing down. I don't really care where my face piece is when I'm standing down. I just let it hang down here. What I don't want is this thing being exposed when I'm in the fire, inside the fire. So imagine crawling out, trying to get out of a room that's getting ready to flash over. You go, all right, man, there's the window, but you got to go across a king-size bed that the mattress is all burned up and the springs are exposed. Now you're staying low and you go across that bed and you lasso a bed spring, mattress spring. Think about where this would be on my body. Right here, I got a face piece on, gloves, and I'm pinned to this mattress. You think I'm gonna be able to come off that thing? There's no way. The room lights up. I can't go out the window with my with a mattress on my back, so I'm in trouble. So on some of the packs, like on the Scots, we can tuck them up inside that sleeve right there. You guys can't really do that. It'll fall back out. So honestly, if I was wearing this pack and there's nothing else I could do, I would put duct tape around that hook, because it's that important to me that I don't have this thing gonna hook me up. Quick story, our fire coats that they issue us in my department have this same hook on our left side that you can hang a flashlight on. And I don't wear a flashlight on that side. I wear a box light over my head, you know, on a strap. But whenever I get a coat, I always put duct tape on that hook for that reason. Well, I got a new coat 4 or 5 years ago, and I had just gotten a pretty decent coat, so I thought, well, I won't be wearing this one for a while. I didn't even put the tape on that because I thought, well, I'm not going to be wearing it. I'll do it later. So I laid it there. 5 months later, we get a fire in the morning. I get all soaking wet. It's like, oh, I'll put that new coat on, not thinking that I hadn't duct taped that. Murphy's Law, we have another fire. I'm following my partner up the stairs, and we get to the landing, and it's black. You know, it's not hot or anything, but it's black. You can't see your hand in front of your face, typical fire. And I feel something tugging on me. It's like, what the hell's that? So I just kind of do what every fireman would do, just give a big tug, and I heard something go crash, and then I felt free again until I started moving. Then something was following me up the steps. What had happened was, what's usually on the landing of stairs is a window, and what's on the window is blinds. And as my partner went by, that long blinds cord, it was super long, he flipped it up and it hooked my little hook on my coat. You couldn't do that again if you tried it, but it happened. That's Murphy's Law. It wasn't a big deal because it was just a blinds cord, so once I figured out what it was, I just broke it. But if you had something you were tangled up in, like wiring that came down in the ceiling, that's a big deal. So you got to think about those little things. Here's another thing they put on there, creature comfort. What's that for? Holding our regulator. Did anybody get hooked going through the low profile over there? A couple guys are going, yeah. This thing will jack you up. Now, at least you're not stuck. You can reach down and pull that over if you're aware that that's what's got you. But it is a big deal that it'll get hooked on everything. So, you know, if you're trying to go through a wall and your shoulders are free and you can feel your pack moving, but you're not making any forward progress, it's probably this on the sill plate or the stud. Reach down and pull it over and get on past it. All right? Questions? All right, so go through your packs thoroughly every day, you guys. So if I did that in the morning and then at noon I had a good fire, should I go through that whole check again after the fire? Absolutely. Why did I check in the morning? I don't know what the other guys did to it. Why should I check it after fire? I don't know what I did to it. You know, I mean, you go in there and you destroy these things in a fire sometimes. So you got to be very careful about it. Can't tell you how many times I've come in and found the high pressure hose not connected on a tank on the Scba I'm supposed to use. What do you think happened there? I guarantee what happened is the guy after fire bent over, his buddy changed his tank, and his buddy got distracted, never hooked up the high pressure hose, got talking to somebody else. Hey, yeah, you're good. And then that guy didn't go back in the building, so he just put his pack up on the truck and that was it. So, you know, you don't want to be the guy who gets the front door and charges his tank and they're just hear air blowing out in the back. So that's kind of stuff that happens after you get done using a fire. All right, questions on the morning check? once again, hopefully you guys are already that thorough. Usually we find guys in this class, they're here for a reason, it's because they care. So you guys probably are. If you're not, then hopefully you will be when you leave here Friday. So let's talk about the drill real quick. What's going to happen is you're going to take your packs, complete with face piece, up to the first floor. There's a dark room in there. You're going to leave me the packs, and I'm going to mess them up a little bit to where you couldn't just go in and put your pack on and make it work. There's going to be problems you're going to have to fix. It's not going to be anything huge. You're not going to find your tank out and laying over there and all that, but you wouldn't be able to just go in and put it on and make it work, all right? So your goal is, let's kind of work backwards here. Your goal is to come out of that room completely dressed, pack on your back, no twists in your straps. And I don't mean the little twists here that I was just fixing. I mean, I don't want to see this one upside down like that where I couldn't get to your buckle, all that stuff. So make sure when you put it on, you run your thumbs down it. Belt buckle where? Center, right? Why do we care about that? So we can all find each other's, right? And I can find mine and you can find yours. If we put it in the same place all the time, we'll all know where to find it. We don't spend waste a lot of time trying to get to that buckle if it's pulled over here or something. If it's in the center, we'll all know where it's at. All right, so you're gonna come out of there fully geared up, breathing air, hood in place, chin strap buckled, no twisting your straps, and belt buckle in the center. Sound pretty good so far? All right, so that's how you're gonna come out. Here's the catch, you guys. It's gotta be done with gloved hands. All right, the whole drill is done with gloved hands. Does everybody think it's a bad idea to take a glove off during a fire? It absolutely is. Let's face it, fire gloves suck, but we gotta learn to function in them because it is a bad idea to take them off. They have to be bulky, but it takes away our dexterity, but you gotta learn to function in them. So leave your gloves on during the whole drill. I'll have a camera up there, and the way it works is if I see you take a glove off anytime during the drill, I got some duct tape around here somewhere. If I see you take your glove off anytime during the drill, I'm gonna stop you right there. You just burned your hand so bad that I'm gonna make you pull your hand up inside your sleeve and I duct tape your sleeve shut and you finish the drill one-handed, all right? So, and I will do it. We take it that serious, but all kidding aside, you guys, you need to be good in your gloves. So if your gloves suck really bad, go find you something better. FDIC comes to my town every year, so every glove manufacturer is there. And every year I think I found the next best thing in fire gloves, and after the first fire they usually suck, you know. So, but every year I keep going out thinking I'll find the best thing ever, and hopefully someday we will. But you got to be able to function in them, so make sure you leave them on. Try to do everything with your gloves on in this class. That little morning check that I just told you, do it with your gloves on every morning. Think how good you'll get. You don't have to put your coat on, all that stuff, but think how good you'll get at just feeling through your pack, putting your face piece on, bleeding off your tank, all that stuff. If you do that the rest of your career, every single day, how good you'll be at that. So that's the way the drill works. There's gonna be 2 more things added in. When you get done, when you're sure you're perfect, just say, hey Rick, I'm done, and I'm gonna say, give me a mayday. All right, so let's talk about maydays real quick. What's the first thing that comes out of your mouth? Okay, and then what? Okay, so who is the most important part, right? The name, that's who we want. So mayday, 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 and definitely your name. And then I know Jim talked about in class, lunar is a good way to remember it. It's not the order it comes out. The name always needs to be the first thing. And the reason is if that's all I get out, guess what? I'll bet they'll figure out where I was, what company I'm with. You know, our departments, even though they're big, we know each other. So if I throw my name out there, I go, oh yeah, ladder 10, we had them up on the roof, you know, that type of thing. So they'll figure that out, but we got to get our name out. If all you got out was mayday, 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 searching, guess what? That could be a big deal there. So get the name out. So I'm going to have you do a mayday. I really don't care what you say in there. Just give me a solid mayday. You can be on the 80th floor. You can be in the basement. You can be entangled, out of air. I don't care. Just try to roll off a good mayday for me. I've literally had guys, when I say give me a mayday, they get out mayday, 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 and then they don't even remember their names. And this is just training. All right, so imagine adding 800 degrees to that and thinking it's your last few minutes on Earth. That could be really bad. So you got to practice these maydays. So give me the best one you can, and then I'm going to have you do one more thing. I'm going to have you activate your pass device. All right, so I want you to hit the emergency button, and then I'm going to have you shut it off. Why do I care if you know how to shut it off? Communication, right? If you got to say something changes in your mayday, then you're going to need to shut that off, or that's all they're going to hear. All right? So it'll be mayday, 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 do that, and then pass the device, then shut it off. All right? So is everybody carrying a radio? Everybody does? All right. We're going to talk a little bit about that real quick. First thing I want to point out is the way I'm carrying mine. It's on a shoulder strap. Is anybody wearing something like this? Nobody in this group? Anybody wearing the 3-strap deal that I saw somebody in the other group wearing? Nothing? Looks like the woodsman type thing. Okay. Everybody's carrying it in their pocket then, I'm assuming, right? Anybody with a lapel mic? You're all no lapel mics, okay? All right, so you got yours on the outside of your pocket. So that's what we want to talk about real quick. There are some problems with carrying your radio in that pocket, and especially if you don't carry a lapel mic. All right, I know your department doesn't supply them for everybody. Is that what I'm gathering? There are lapel mics out there, but not on request. All right, so let's back up a little bit. So now I got it in my pocket and I get a lapel mic. Hey, you know, those guys said wear a lapel mic. So now you're still going to carry it in your pocket. What are you going to do with that lapel mic? You'll probably loop it around a few times, and then your Velcro flap that comes through, you'll do that, and then you'll clip it to that. It's better than not having a lapel mic, but I can tell you what's going to happen when you start working in a fire. That lapel mic's going to get knocked off, and now this is what's going to happen. This is going to be flopping around like that. If you need it, you're going to be doing this, looking for it. That's a problem. If you don't wear it, or if you don't wear the lapel mic and you just carry it in your pocket, true story, I saw a guy, I was riding out in the battalion car, and I came in after the fire and I saw guys looking for something, you know, and I said, what are you guys looking for? And they said, so-and-so tripped when he came in the front door and his radio launched out of that pocket. They could not find it. He didn't know that it launched. Now he knows that it did. And he left it, he fought the rest of the fire without a radio, so then the ceiling's coming down, the radio gets buried. So that guy went the whole fire without a radio. That's a big deal, right? Could be a really big deal. So the lapel mic is a good thing, but still carrying it in the pocket can become a problem. So you guys that carry it in your pocket, now we're going on an EMS run. Where's your radio? You guys take it in with you? No? Some of you do? That's good that some of you do. A lot of the other groups said, no, we don't have a radio, just the officer does. True story, in my company, I have a rescue squad in there. It's a 2-man squad. We're in a tough area of the city. They went on a pretty bad deal on the street one night, and the crowd started rioting, and they were mad at the firemen and the ambulance people, and they were coming after them. They ran different directions. One had a radio and one didn't. Problem? Yeah, they both had a radio. At least they, hey, I'm behind the bushes over here, whatever. Fortunately, they got away okay, but that's, once again, that's a big deal. So I have a rule, we have radio straps. My guys on my company all wear them on radio straps, and they don't step off that rig without their radio on them. I don't care if we're getting fuel, they better come off with that radio on, because anything could happen at any time. And if nothing else, that means they love their radio so much it's with them all the time. That's what I want in my guys. That's the way you guys should be. You should be that comfortable. So I tell guys, if your department doesn't supply these radio straps, and believe me, we don't sell these things. We have no attachment to them except that we know how important it is. Spend a little money on yourself. Go to thefirestore.com and order one, order the holster, get the anti-sway strap. If you see that, you clip it to your belt loop when you're not wearing your fire coat. That way when you bend over on the EMS run, you don't conk the patient with your radio, because it will swing around on you. When you got your fire coat on and stuff, it's not important. That'll pin it there. Wear it underneath your coat. That's very important. There was a fire a couple years ago, a couple guys died, very intense fire. Some of the companies that showed up wore their radios in a pocket, and they had lapel mics, and they went in, the temperatures were so hot that these wires, since they wore them outside their coat, these wires melted, and it welded them together, which keyed their radios in. So for 4 or 5 minutes on that fire where 2 firemen are missing, no one could communicate because 2 radios were keyed in. And everybody just assumed it would be that the button was stuck, it was because the wires were melted together. So if I wear it underneath my fire coat, that protects it a little bit from that happening, okay? So in a strap under the fire coat is what we highly recommend, but the pockets, I've just seen too many bad things happen with them. You guys are going through this class, you guys can make a difference in your department. Talk to your department, say, hey, you know, we'd like to really see, you know, my department bought one for every riding position. They didn't buy one for every fireman, but there's one at every riding position. So at least when you come in the morning, if you don't own your own, you got one there for you. And unfortunately, and it makes me mad, but my department doesn't make it mandatory. You can wear it here or you can wear it in your pocket. And that's the kind of stuff that happens. That guy launched his radio. It wouldn't happen if you had it here. When I have it in a strap, this microphone's 6 inches from my ear all the time. So I'm gonna hear transmissions as they come across. And also if I need to get on there, boom, I'm right to my mic. I never have to wonder where it's at. It's always right there, okay? I do. Now that's one thing. You guys have zippers on your coats. So you're gonna have to zip up to a certain point and then this would be sticking out the top. Now I was telling him that, the guy that I borrowed this from, most of these straps have two holders there. There should be another one up here. This one doesn't. So this ride's kind of low. I would want the one where I can pin it up here a little higher. I want it up here because that way I can zip my coat all the way up and still have the mic right there. Make sense? All right, so questions on that? We just want to point that out. And I want you guys, when you give your mayday, I want you to actually use your radio in there, all right? There's gonna be a lot of feedback because you're all gonna be wearing them. Fireground training, fire department training channel is what you'll be on. So give your mayday through your radio, and that way I can see and you guys can see what it's like to have to go after that radio. Okay? Questions on it? All right, guys, so what we're gonna do, everybody can grab their pack, complete with face piece. We'll take it up on the first floor in that room. Then you guys will come back down here and get dressed. All right, it'll take me about 10 minutes to mess everything up there. Good? All right, guys, so real quick, what'd you guys think of the drill? It's all right? I mean, it's simple, it's basic, but you know, I've had guys with 25, 30 years go through it and go, yeah, that was pretty good. You know, I learned something about this or that. The big thing for you guys is, since you're doing the train the trainer, is that this drill doesn't cost you a dime to do. You can do it back at your station over and over and over every week, and it doesn't cost you a dime to do it. You just got to fill some air bottles when you're done. So quick story, talking about the duct tape and everything. When I first went to the company I'm in now, I really didn't know a lot of the people that were there and their skill levels. So we would do this drill once a month for 5-6 months. And towards the end, one of the lieutenants under me said, hey, he goes, I want you to duct tape my hand up inside my sleeve before we even go in there. So we did it. We put his hand up in there and duct tape. He went in there and did that drill one-handed and came out perfect. So that tells you the more you do this, the better you're going to be at it, you guys. You got to know this pack inside and out, and that's beautiful. A guy was in there doing that one-handed and smoked it. So just do it over and over. It doesn't cost you a dime. Like I said, this cheap drill, and it seems basic, but it's really good, and it just improves your motor skills over and over. The Mayday, some of you guys did pretty well. Some of them were, you know, mediocre, but the big thing is practice Maydays. Shut your radio off on the way, you know, in your car one morning. Just practice Maydays on your way to work. Sounds silly, but really, it's pretty important that you get some good information coming out if you ever have to hit a Mayday. We hope you never have to, but you got to practice it. All right? The gloves, once again, get good at it, you guys. Do this morning check every morning with your gloves on, and you'll get really good at it. Be comfortable in it. That's what you need to be. You need to be so comfortable that you don't ever have to throw those things off. If for no other reason, it's like I always tell guys, what happens at the front door before you go into a fire? Guys stretch the line up, they set the line down, what they do? Take the gloves off that they put on the way there, pull their face piece on their hood, and then they put the gloves back on. So if you're the guy that can do that without taking the gloves off, guess who gets the pipe, right? If for no other reason, that should drive you right there to get good at using your gloves. All right?